Meeting will come to order, please. The notice requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act for this meeting have been satisfied. Would you please take a second, turn off all electronic equipment as we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Attention, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Johanna, would you call the roll, please?
Mayor Becker?
Here.
Commissioner Amadeo?
Here.
Commissioner Blumberg?
I am here.
Now we have very pleasant duty to perform. I guess it's not a duty, it's really a pleasure. John?
Thank you, Mayor. Welcome, everybody. We have a full house. What a testament to our chief. I think our chief is probably the most relaxed individual in this room, so I'd like for him to come up here. Where is he? Chief.
He's so relaxed. Who said that?
I'd like to read this proclamation into the record, the archives of the city of Margate. Whereas Margate City Fire Chief Anthony Tony Tabasso has been the proud leader of the Margate City Fire Department and its members at department and its 35 department members. The City of Margate Fire Department and Chief Tabasso also oversee the Margate City Beach Patrol with approximately 60 members. The Margate City Fire Department and Beach Patrol have long histories of extraordinary member dedication, characteristics, bravery in the face of adversity, commitment to ongoing training and professional betterment. And whereas Chief Tabasso has fostered member enthusiasm, commitment to excellence, and critical sense of community throughout his 7 years as fire chief, 9 years as deputy chief, and his inspirational length of service of nearly 40 years, having joined the Margate City Fire Department in April of '78. And whereas throughout those 40 years of responding to calls, which have included fire, water rescues, rebuilding of Firehouse Station 1, Hurricane Sandy, and even a response to a cardiac arrest with his deputy chief the very day they were promoted in 2010. And whereas untold numbers of lives have been saved, inspired, motivated, improved, educated, comforted, and most importantly, touched by Chief Anthony Tony Tabasso, whose dedication to the residents and visitors to the city of Margate is a source of pride to us all. Now therefore it be proclaimed by the City of Margate's Board of Commissioners that upon the occasion of his retirement after 40 years of service to the Margate City Fire Department and the City of Margate, Chief Anthony Tabasso should be commended for his exceptional level of dedication and professional excellence and deserves the recognition and thanks of all of its residents. Signed by the Mayor, Commissioner Blumberg, and myself. Tony, congratulations. And probably, I just want to make a short comment, probably besides his beautiful family, the most important thing in his life and the passion in his life was being a firefighter. He cared about life in general, and that example filtered through the 40 years to all the individuals that worked alongside of him, slept alongside of him when they were on duty, as they were promoted, worked with them, and as an administrator, kept that sense of passion in our whole fire department. So Tony, you have a lot to be proud of. You've done an outstanding job, and your niche, back in 1978, you found something in life that you were good at, and you did a great job.
You go first.
Me first?
Go ahead.
Okay, so it's
You
my
don't need a
turn.
microphone.
Thank you, everybody, for coming today. Today, you're here, we're here to honor the chief. But more important, we are here today, we are honoring a great man, a great father, and believe it or not, you can't tell from looking at him, a great grandfather. A real family man and a true friend who dedicated most of his entire life to protecting the citizens and residents of Margate. And so I want to personally say it's been nothing but a great pleasure to work alongside of the chief, and I want to wish him the best of luck in his retirement, good health, and enjoy your family. You've earned it. Thank you.
Mayor.
Tony, on my thanks on behalf of every citizen in Margate for your long and accomplished service. I worked with Tony for 4 years. Every day was a pleasure. He's a gentleman. He's fair. You can't ask for more. Tony, I wish you well. Kathy, I think I wish you better well. If it doesn't work, it's okay. Tony, stay well, be good, and when you get really bored, come see me. I'll get you a job at the hardware store. Good job.
Thanks everybody for coming up. I figured I would say, sorry, got a little frog in there. As the firstborn son, as his coworker and friend, I figured I owed it to him to say a few words. Thanks for coming, everybody. It's a testament to the man that he is, that all you guys are here. And it's really overwhelming to me and my family, and it really means more than you could ever know. It's funny because when I first learned that I was going to be promoted to lieutenant, I started reading books on leadership and taking classes on leadership. And it was funny because I had the perfect example right in front of my face of an amazing leader. And he's tried to instill that into me. I'm not quite there yet, 35, maybe a few more years I'll get it. But so another thing is a lot of men, when they're entrusted with authority and power, they do not wield it well. My father has. He has done it with honor and dignity. He treats everyone with respect. He never belittled any of our coworkers, but instead would build them up and encourage them. He never was manipulating or controlling, but instead would empower them. And so I just want to say, I think the greatest attribute of my dad, the chief and the man, is his caring for people. And I guarantee you that every single firefighter in here will tell you that he cares about you as people just as much as firefighters and what you can do at work, if not even more so. So I see today's Lincoln's 5th birthday. Happy birthday, buddy. And I hope that when Lincoln is my age, that he can look upon me with such pride that I have looking at my father. Dad, I love you. Go Eagles.
You don't know how hard this is to hold this in. Did you want to say something? Sorry to keep you so long.
So look out, and you thought you were safe. I just want to say, from an up close and personal standpoint, that everything that you are hearing is true. Because I can remember when I first started dating Tony, thanks to my sister and her fiance, who were Ed, who was a firefighter at the time, and I met Tony, and then we were married right soon after, because I couldn't live without him. At 37 years later, I was so afraid to go upstairs or I would go to the bottom of the steps downstairs in the bay, and I would say, "Is Tony there?" You know, and as the wife of this firefighter, and now all these many years later, I still am afraid. But what I want to say is that we as a family want to have giant hearts, and so this change hurts because we grieve leaving, but we also look forward to the change because we are Margate people and always have been. So your chief has always been a Margate boy, and this Ventnor girl has now become a Margate woman, and we've raised our family here and are so proud to have done so in the Margate schools, etc. So one of the things that Margate City can be proud of is that as he served, he did it with pride, and that for the proud gentleman behind me and to the mayor and commissioners, you can know that he served you well and always put the city above all. And men who I adore like he does you, your hearts and your lives matter and still do to him in ways that you need to know were deep and long-standing. We've been given a great gift of one another in this family. We've been given mercy. We've been given one another, and we're very grateful. And I'm very grateful for you and for this day, and that this day has come, and that we can celebrate it together and with you. Thank you for being here. With great joy, we celebrate together. I'm so proud of my children, my grandchildren, and for my man, and for the chance to have served in this great town.
I'm not going to keep you long. I would say anybody you know that does a good or great job has good and great people behind them. And that's what you are. Thank you. A couple things I just wanted to mention. My lifelong friend, Frank Rossetti, has served here longer than me. It's his birthday today. Also, my friend, I'm sorry, Captain Michael McGrath. inspired me to join this department. And he's not with us, but he's with us in spirit. His wife and son are here. Thank you. I should be in here. I can't recognize everybody, all the chiefs, all my friends. My chief, Vince. Thank you so much. I'm really gonna miss these meetings.
Liar. You can stay, Tony.
You never know, I might be back.
Yeah, right. Good luck. Duck when you say it.
Wait a minute. You asked me about it. That's a little different than me. Ready to go? Okay. At this point, one of the items for discussion is the annual municipal parking lot auction. Johanna, you want to address that? You asked that we put it on the agenda.
Every year we hold an annual auction for the parking lot on Washington Avenue. The minimum bid has been $200, and there are 18 spots. I want permission from the commission to go ahead with this auction. I'd also like to know if you wish to change the $200 municipal bid. I'm looking for your wishes.
Maury?
So I'm good with it. I think we should leave it as it is.
I agree.
Okay. You've got the information you need.
Okay, so move forward with the auction. Thank you.
Please, okay, yep. Roger?
Yes, Mayor, the applicant is for a street opening permit on North Harding Avenue. The street is on a moratorium. By ordinance, they need permission from the governing body to open a street with conditions that they have to comply with.
One of which is repaving the street, gutter to gutter?
We've allowed, yes, we'll allow them to do infrared restoration. If that doesn't hold, they have to mill and pave the street, cut the curb.
Okay. I'm okay with that. Marty?
For gas,
Yes.
there was no,
Wasn't a corner property, there's no stub, no,
what was it, vacant lot?
no,
Was there a structure there?
no. There's not a service stub there,
But there was a house there.
right,
Did it have gas prior?
I don't know.
Where's the location?
308 North Harding.
No, none of that. There was no gas stubbed in anywhere there.
Okay,
Yeah, they were all oil tanks.
okay. All right, well, then that answers the question.
Okay with it then?
Yep.
Okay. You okay with it, Marty?
I am.
You have permission?
Thank you.
Okay.
That's between Fremont and Amherst, right?
Mhm.
Okay, got it.
Okay, at this point, we will, anybody have anything else to discuss before we move forward? We will go to department head reports, and I didn't forget Fred this week, but he has nothing to report, so.
I do have a
Chief.
complaint. I do have a complaint,
All right,
though.
well, you said you didn't want to be called on. so
Okay.
Hold it for next minute. Go ahead.
No, I'm
Go
good.
ahead. Come on.
I'm good. Thank you.
Chief Wilson.
Everything's good in the police department. We recently had two SLEOs that converted to full-time and graduated from Cape May County, the Waiver Academy successfully. So they're out in the FTO program and we're moving along very well. That's it.
Thank you, Chief. Dawn?
Anything that was a concern or a follow-up from the administrator's office is already placed on the agenda for consideration.
Thank you. Dan?
Mayor, just two quick things. One, I just wanted to give everyone a grant update. The fire department is involved with two grants for the assistance to firefighter grants. One individually for the city of Margate. We're looking to go for turnout gear that we've been working with Jim Rotala, and the grant has been submitted. Tomorrow's the final day, and it's been submitted. The other is a regional grant opportunity that we are working alongside of Atlantic City and Ventnor for SCBA upgrade. And this could help us with our capital, because we had budgeted in the capital plan for this year to replace our existing SCBA, which is over 11 years old, and up to 4 standards out of the NFPA current standards. So I think with this opportunity with Atlantic City being involved, it really gives us a good chance of coming to fruition, and hopefully we get that grant. One other note, and this was just something I checked today, just looking at our call volume from 2017 to 2018, just in the month of January, and I know a lot has to do with the weather, we had a 40% increase in responses just in the month of January from 17 to 18. So I think that's a considerable amount of calls, roughly 60 plus additional calls in the same time frame as 2017. And that's all I have to report.
Thank you, Dan. Ed?
Okay, I'm just going to touch on existing construction or pending construction. The first one would be the beach, street, and storm sewer systems. There was a pre-construction meeting today to kick that project off. Notice to proceed was issued. They have, I believe, until April 20th to have everything done. 17th it is. So you will see activity out there probably within a week and a half to 2 weeks. They'll be starting at Union Avenue, hopefully bouncing back to Vendome, and then working towards Ventnor from that point. The tennis courts, as soon as weather permits, they will start construction on the restoring courts 5 and 6. The rubber tie check valves, the contractor started measuring the existing valves today to confirm the sizes so that they can place the order. We're asking this contractor to give us a price to install the valve that we already purchased, that I had previously measured and confirmed the size. So that'll be ongoing. People may see the tie check valve contractor going between homes because they're usually where there's an easement, so they shouldn't be alarmed. But I am going to make sure that the contractor notifies the police department when they will be on private property. And that's pretty much it. Everything else was covered earlier.
Thank you very much, Ed. Roger?
Nothing too new to report today. Thank you.
Jim?
I just want to give you an update on the flood maps. Effective 28th of February, we're going to be adopting the firm map. We already entered into an agreement on an ordinance earlier this year later last year to adopt the firm map. So now it goes into effect the February 28th. So we're looking forward to seeing the new maps come out. We're also looking forward to adopting a new flood ordinance. We're looking at a 3-foot freeboard to the underside of the floor joists, which we'll show you when we get closer to the more better worded. Roger is really working hard on wording the ordinance so it's correctly coming out, so it works in all the way for construction methods. Congratulations to Tony and his family, but I guess they're already gone. It's a great day in Margate. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Jim. Frank?
Yeah, on Tuesday night, we went out and salted the roads because of the ice. and I'm glad we did because it all turned to a sheet of ice. We've been very busy through the month of January. We actually fixed another water main this week on Iroquois Avenue in Atlantic, and we're still working out at the ball field. We just completed the holiday lighting taken down, and we're going to start cleaning up all the grounds around it, around the fences and everything. So we're staying on top of the ball field. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Scott?
Mayor and Commissioners, we're moving forward with our dredge committee. We're probably gonna have another meeting next week. I know that the Stockton Coastal Research Center did much of the work that was needed for the preliminary application requirements. So we are moving forward, and I don't know what the date of our luncheon work session, but you're all invited, just as long as we don't have a quorum with the governing body. Everybody else is invited. A couple resolutions on the agenda tonight. We have the consultant being considered for the wireless facilities. This was a request by City Administrator Deeney. As you know, we have a number of issues coming up with both Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, and this outfit, VCOM. I actually attended a seminar with them, and Richard did another one. I think he also saw the same outfit in motion. They represent other cities, and at one time, I believe they did work for us. I know they did. Lisa told us that they had done work. So if you approve this resolution tonight, we will have them review our existing leases and some of the requests that have been made by Verizon and T-Mobile to see what's the best interest of Margate. I also note that you're putting a professional services out to Judge Donio. I strongly endorse Judge Donio. I've known him since we went to school. He was an excellent judge, retired Superior Court judge, and I know he's already done some work for the city of Margate, and that I've heard nothing but good. So that I'm excited about getting him as a part of the team. Anything else you want to ask? Or?
Well, I have a question for Scott while he's on.
All right.
Scott, so we have on for second reading and adoption ordinance 02-2018. And I'm wondering if you can explain to us, and if my understanding is correct, the footprint of the existing marinas on the Amherst Avenue waterfront. Will this ordinance allow them to expand from a width standpoint? So, for example, the one in the middle, I think it might be Blue Water, where it's just like a little building. Will this allow them to expand to change the waterfront in any significant way? And in conjunction with that, will the ones that have the ability to move, will they be allowed to move, or do they have to maintain within reason their existing footprint? So that's a concern that's been brought up to me.
Okay, do you want me to answer that now?
Can you?
Please.
Well, as you know, we have two zones in our waterfront. We have the riparian zone, we have the waterfront special district. I believe it was in 2004, they changed the zoning in our marinas areas to go waterfront special district just to the face of the bulkhead. What that did is that made all the structures waterward of the bulkhead subject to a different zone. They're in the riparian zone. In that zone, you only allow marina use, government use. You do not allow restaurants. You do not allow retail. You do not allow service. You do not allow residential. As you know, Captain Andes and Integrity recently have changed hands, and they have developers anxious to move forward and go forward with their DEP permits and city permits. And so this issue has come up that, hey, those properties technically are zoned where it would have to be a use variance, which is a very high level of variance relief to justify allowing them to be redeveloped. We can't have residential use waterward of the bulkhead under the current R zoning designation. You can't have retail sales. Depending on how you define services, I don't even know that you have the ability to rent non-boat activity, which I understand goes on. So that's part of the picture, and I believe that's why the planning board made the recommendation to amend the zoning ordinance by changing our zoning map. Now, the question you have posed to me, and I know you've asked me this, can they move the buildings that are there to a different location, or can they expand them? My understanding on the DEP is that you're pretty much locked into your footprint, but I could be wrong. I understand, talking to Roger, that there is an effort by them, not by the one, by Integrity Marina, to move over a bit. I was told they wanted to move over to eliminate an encroachment. That was my understanding. But it could be a lot more than that. So I'm not really sure about, I can't really speak for them. I have the recommendation of the planning board. I know that the city's anxious to see something done with those buildings because they're in decrepit condition. We're also anxious to see those bulkheads replaced. But I cannot guarantee you as of now that they can't shift or move over those buildings to perhaps another location.
Okay, but independent of the passing, the adoption of the ordinance, they could or could not move. Could they move if we didn't approve the ordinance? They could still go
need
through
variances.
and have to get the variances
Right.
that they need if they wanted to move their building.
They still need
Correct.
CAFRA approval.
They would still have to have something. So whether or not we adopt or don't adopt the ordinance, they would still have to get approvals if they wanted to move their building one way or another.
Right. The original premise was to make the existing uses compliant. Right now, they're all non-compliant.
Right.
Then these applications came in, so we kind of streamlined it to move it up
Right.
quicker.
So they need a waterfront development permit, waterward to the bulkhead from the DEP, and they need a CAFRA permit, landward to the bulkhead from the DEP. So in addition to that, under our ordinance, they can't have the apartments that are proposed for upstairs, they cannot have the restaurant, they cannot have stores, can't have any of that. Because it's zone riparian, which I believe occurred in the early 2000s. I'm not sure when that zoning changed. So the planning board, after analyzing this and looking at it, they made a recommendation to you, the governing body, to change the zoning. We talked about it at great length. Do we want the riparian line to run through the docks on the outside? Did that make sense? Or should all of the marina properties be in one zone, which seemed to make more sense? Waterfront, water special district. But yeah, there are concerns. I mean, I know some people are going to be concerned. Will they lose some of their view? Will these buildings expand? For sure, they will be higher to meet our flood elevation requirements. They're going to be a lot higher. Will they move over or shift? That is quite possible.
There are still setbacks. But again, they could do that if we didn't pass the ordinance. Is that not correct? But you're
They'd have
saying
to
they
go-
might be less likely to do that, i.e. say, again, Blue Water, because that's the one I know, he wanted to build a Limburgers type restaurant there. He would have to get approvals to be able to do that from the state and the DEP and CAFRA and all that, correct?
He would have to get that, yes, correct. He would have to get it. But I think your question is, my understanding was, in general, they can't expand their footprint. But it could be wrong. State determines it's a marina-related or water-dependent use. They may allow them to increase a little bit. No absolute guarantees on anything.
You okay?
Yep.
Okay. Commissioner Amadeo, you had a question?
Yeah, Scott, on another issue, we had a discussion during our workshop probably a couple of months ago on the beachfront purchase of the DEP right away. Am I right in saying that?
I know
And-
exactly, yes.
And we had to offer it to the adjoining property. What's the status of that
Okay.
issue?
What the other ordinance is, that we have parcels between the oceanfront property line and the face of the bulkhead. In some areas, they were narrower, maybe 6 foot. In some areas, I believe they're closer to 30-some foot. They are labeled on our zoning map as government-owned. Well, what happens when they're no longer government-owned? We made agreements with 1, 2, 3, I think, property owners, where we swapped out the strip of land that most of them were using it anyway or had used to it, between the bulkhead face and their property line landward, and in turn, they replaced much of the oceanfront bulkhead. That's how we got Rumson Avenue built, that's how we got, I forget where else we got Quincy Avenue. So we're working on that. So the thought process was to change the zoning map or have a provision in the ordinance that says once it's no longer government owned, it is the zone of the adjoining contiguous property. So if it's R40, which I think most of them are, whatever residential zone it is, that strip of land will be considered that residential zone. So for instance, if they want to build a part of their house, I don't know if they have the distance, they usually have to be 25 feet off, but if they have a pool, if they have a patio, it would be permitted. And so that one, I really see no problem with that one.
But the master plan recommends that also, and
to
it's going to
eliminate
be
the
done
DO zone.
anyway, but we're just getting it done a little bit quicker.
Thank you.
You okay with that?
Yep.
Okay. Anything else? All right.
That's it, that's all I have.
Cool. Where are we on this?
Who's next?
Johanna.
All's good in the clerk's office.
Cool. John.
I've had it all.
Marty.
No, I'm good.
I'm good too. At this point, we will turn it over to our clerk. Johanna, it's all up to you.
Well, public comment, right?
Oh, public comment, excuse me. Thank you.
Yeah, don't take away my thunder.
Okay. We'll open public comment. The procedure is 3 minutes. You can discuss any topic that was discussed here today.
Sewell 22 West Drive, following up on the remarks of our esteemed solicitor concerning the dredging, might I once again remind this board that it is mighty myopic. And Mayor, who says you can't teach old dogs new tricks? It now appears Stu Farrell finally acknowledges that the reason Brigantine beaches have grown an additional 850 feet is that, quote, the sand gets trapped by a large rock jetty at the south end of Brigantine. He goes on to belatedly admit, quote, there is no substantial rock jetty at the southern end of Absecon Island in Longport. So there's nothing to trap sand in the middle and southern parts, end of quote. Duh. Farrell was not in the vanguard to build a master jetty when tens of millions of dollars were being squandered by the Army Corps to replenish the non-existent beach in Longport. He is now admitting a large rock jetty, namely a master jetty, is necessary not only to preserve and expand the beaches, but perhaps more importantly, to prevent the silting up of the Great Egg Harbor Inlet. However, Farrell is way off on his estimate of its requisite length. The master jetty on the south end of Brigantine was erected primarily to prevent the Absecon Inlet from silting up. It was no puny 700 to 800 feet, but rather in excess of 5,000 feet. The results were nothing short of dramatic and very long-lasting. It enabled the tremendous development of the south end of Brigantine. It's time to stop, put an end to the endless replenishment pork barrel projects, and to bite the bullet and erect a one-time fix with a master jetty in Longport. And keep in mind, with Senator Cory Booker running for president now, and the U.S. Attorney General's office lifting the sword of Damocles off of Roberto Menendez and his corrupt enterprises, these two senators should be at a perfect juncture to push this through with the Army Corps of Engineers and get this master jetty erected at the south end of Longport. It's way overdue. I think after that towboat operator was killed hitting a sandbar there, it should have been a wake-up call to all but the inattentive mayor. So I think it's time now to get on the stick and do what needs to be done. Now that Stu Farrell is singing a different tune, let's take advantage of that song and join in, Mayor. Start singing for your supper. Thank you.
Thank you, John. I've missed you, John. I missed you.
I sure miss coming to the meetings for that. Good afternoon, Ed Berger, 9402 Amherst Avenue. I'm here to, since you guys brought up the resolution that you're going to be, or the ordinance you're going to be voting on the zoning today. We were planning on discussing this in the later meeting today, but some of my neighbors and I are here. There are a lot of moving parts involved in what's going on in the very small part of Amherst Avenue right now. Sean Gormley is going to be developing Captain Andy's. Jimmy Leeds is going to be developing Integrity Marine. It seems to us that there's very little, and by the way, we're all quite tired of looking at decrepit buildings and knockdown piers. I mean, we're very happy that developers have come in there and want to do something to make the waterfront better looking there. We know that we're going to take a hit as far as the height of those buildings because it's in a V zone and they can go up to 50 feet, and we're going to lose a part of our view that way. We know that. We know that no developer would go in there unless they thought that it was going to be economically feasible for them to do at least most of what they wanted to do. Here's our concern. Here's my personal concern. And I'm in a location directly across the street from Jimmy's building. You know, I want to make sure that they can develop their parcel to its potential, but not at any further expense to either myself from a property value standpoint or from my neighbors at a property value standpoint. Now, there are a lot of moving parts in this. We've got the change in zoning that the city is suggesting today that they're going to be doing to accommodate the two developers, essentially. But rather than having them go for the use variance, as just,
You're saying it right.
right, rather than them having to apply for it themselves, in order to encourage them to do the development, the city is going to rezone the entire length of Amherst Avenue. It occurs to me that this kind of accommodation, unfortunately, could be a harbinger of things to come. Now, Roger isn't 100% sure yet as to whether or not they're going to be able to move the building, how far, one way or another. Scott, I don't know anybody who's more informed on what goes on over the water and next to it than you are. And yet, at the same time, you can't give any assurances to us, the neighbors. And there are 14 townhomes in our particular development, Harbor Vista, right across the street. And, you know, we've been there for, I guess, 14 years, a couple $1 million worth of taxes paid by all of us. We want to make sure that we're getting the same consideration, or more, in fact, than the developers are going to be getting coming in here. We want them to build across the street from us. We want them to make the properties look better. I'm tired of looking at the equivalence of a Bronx marina across the street from me. But at the same time, we're concerned about just exactly what kind of latitude they're going to be given. Now, the first indication is that rather than them having to go for a change in use themselves, the city is going to change the zoning for the entire street.
Ed, you'll have another chance to speak at the next meeting.
Wow, thanks, Mike. I think I'll come to it.
Tell you, it's,
The outshot of it, by the way, is our recommendation would be to at least give the homeowners another couple of weeks to evaluate the entire situation before you vote on this. We don't believe that it would interfere with the zoning board meeting, which occurs a week after the next commissioners meeting, and allowed all the homeowners and taxpayers a chance to get a full evaluation of the situation. Thanks.
thank you. Any other public comment? Is there a motion to close public comment?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Mayor Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Amadeo?
Yes.
Commissioner Blumberg?
Yes.
Okay, is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Mayor Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Amadeo?
Yes.
Commissioner Blumberg?
Yes.
Our public meeting will begin at 5 o'clock.